People have been doing multiple things over the past month, and we did share a bunch of updates in the last month, and there were a lot of things that were in progress. This is the status of things as of right now. The items that are marked green are either released or the work is done and the release is going to happen very soon. Items that are in orange are those for which work is going on right now, and items in red are those for which the work is yet to be started. We said from an overall perspective that improving the ease of self-service and improving the data entry application were one of the priorities that we were taking up over this month. And happy to report that at least two items on the ease of self-service have been stricken off. One is the intuitive CSV uploads, and we'll come to it very soon as to what this means. There is also a lot of work that has been done on the automatic dashboard cards. So these are the cards that are available that you see on the home screen whenever you log into Avni. These are two things that for which work has been completed. There has also been a release where we worked on the security of the data entry application. And when I say security, what I mean is the ability of a user to control the ability of an administrator to control what kind of data or which users can be updated by a specific organization. The self-service reports is currently being done through the Code for Government Tech program. There is an intern who is working on it, and he's made significant progress. My feeling is over probably another month, this should go live, and we should be able to generate quite a lot of automatic insights of your data directly and automatically on Metabase. I'm really very excited at the work that the intern has been doing. He's raised a pull request. We'll probably merge it in a day or two. And there's also work going on right now for improving performance. There was some work that was done last month. We are doing some more work this month to try to make it a lot more easier for people who are on the data entry app to be using it. Over to like a few screenshots. We first talked about the intuitive CSV uploads, and what I mean by that is on the top screen, you'll see this is how a typical sample CSV file would look like. So if you go to that upload screen and if you do a download sample button, download sample, you'd get something like this. And this PHCB, everything is kind of same for everyone, right? Now, uh, what has been done now is that there's an additional row that has been added. If you can see on the new section at the bottom, it says whether something is a mandatory field. If there are specific things, like if it's a mobile number, it gives a specific example of how it looks like. And if there's a preferred language, it tells you what options are possible, what in the right case and everything. So if there are location attributes, for example, it will also give you what the valid values are. So that kind of makes it easier for somebody to actually look at the sample file and say whether something was right or not. We've also worked quite a bit on the error handling mechanism, so a lot of errors are now easier to understand. So that's about the CSV upload, right? So again, so this is another screenshot of the CSV upload where if you see on the left hand side is the old style of things. You always have a download sample on the right hand side. But what we've done here is we've removed this section, and the moment you choose locations, it'll give you a download sample here. This especially works well because if we choose something for a specific say uploading a specific subject type or a specific encounter type, it downloads a CSV file with the right kind of headers. Earlier, this was not really the case, but right now the headers will also be right. And the second line, which tells you what options are available, will also be available on the sample file. So that's something which will get released pretty soon. The other is about the automatic dashboard cards. Now, if you've seen or if you've tried creating creating a standard report card, on the left hand side, you'll see that a standard report card of type scheduled visits. This is all you could do. So if I want to get like a standard, a list of how many visits were done or are scheduled for, say, the growth monitoring visit type of child program, that was not something that was possible earlier. Right now, a lot more options have been added. So if I say it's a standard report card and of type scheduled visits, I can choose for which subject type, I can choose for which program, I can choose for which encounter type. I can also potentially not use this in certain situations. Like for example, if I take all, there are a lot of these options where many of these parameters are not mandatory, and if it's mandatory or non-mandatory, it will take the right kind of defaults wherever it's necessary. This will also get released pretty soon. And from a self-service perspective, I think this is really useful because someone can actually design a dashboard by themselves without having to write a lot of JavaScript. Today, to build something like this requires somebody to know JavaScript and be able to do it. And that's something that I think is very useful. The third feature that we talked about was catchment-based user access. This has been released, and the people who have actually been using the web application uh, have noticed it for sure. In this feature, what we're doing is earlier we used to think of the data entry application as something that's required only by a data entry person, which means that they will by default have access to every single catchment available in an organization. Whereas we've now found use cases where these need not necessarily be the case, and there could be multiple admins sitting and trying to edit or trying to handle a specific slice of a data, which could either be based on the catchment of the user or based on the synchronization attributes. What we've done now is to be able to restrict a user when they are using the data entry application to be able to just use or to be able to edit just data that is specific to their area. We can assign people areas or catchments, or we can also give them sync attributes, which will let them restrict the amount of data that they can edit on the data entry application. That is currently available. We are also having like a slight modification where for people who don't want to go with this kind of an approach, we are also trying to give them an option to uh, override this at a user level and say, I should you give them access to the entire data for your organization. That work is currently ongoing and should be released pretty fast, pretty soon. So that's about the product updates. In terms of the ecosystem, there are two specific things that happened over the last month. One was CINI, the Collectors for Integrated Livelihood Initiatives went live. This work has was started sometime in February, March timeframe, and we went live last month. This project itself is pretty huge in the sense that it works across 2,000 schools and 500 Anganwadis across Odisha and Jharkhand. And the number of students that are being supported is quite a lot. Even the program itself was a very uh, extensive program where there are people who deal with schools specifically, the school management committees, the parliaments which are sitting inside the schools, but at the same time also work at the block and the district levels and try to improve the quality of the infrastructure of these schools. Excuse me. So this is not just about improving education, but it's also about a holistic approach to education where they talk about kitchen gardens, the student parliaments, library spaces, and quite a lot more. Um, the project itself was not a was mostly about collecting data and being able to use that data to make the right kind of decisions by interfacing with the government in the or parents or the community wherever it is necessary. The second one was Jashoda Narottam Public Charitable Trust. The organization runs in southern Gujarat and has been using Avni for quite a long time. They recently went live with the adolescent program. The adolescent program is where there are specific interventions that are being done with class 8, 9, and 10 students to be able to navigate life, to be able to also on the health side around anemia or around menstrual hygiene. So that program has also gone live. That kind of rounds up our ecosystem updates.